Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I wanted to come and talk to you guys because it's been a minute. Um, I don't know if you guys know that I lost my son recently. I lost him April 2nd, 2024, from liver failure. He was born with a condition called biliary atresia, which most people in the United States probably never even heard of. It's a rare liver disease, and you're born with it. It's not something that happens like after you're born. You're born with it, basically. And he was born with it, and I was a single parent, and he had a liver transplant because he only had a few years to live. You can only live a few years with that before you need a liver transplant. So he got the liver transplant between, I want to say he was like between 7 and 8 years old. I'm old, so I can't remember the exact age. This brain don't work like that. Um, yeah, so he was in that age category between 7 and 8, and he was in New Jersey because that's where he was born with me. And my grandmother moved to North Carolina, and she told me like once I'm there for like a couple of months, she said bring him to me, and we'll get him on a transplant list in Charlotte, and you see about getting him a liver, because we was already trying to get one in New Jersey, and it was just moving so slow, and he was deteriorating. So we had to hurry up and move fast. So my grandmother got him on the list in Charlotte, North Carolina, and then Charlotte reached out to a transplant center in Omaha, Nebraska, and my son flew out to Omaha, Nebraska, and got the liver transplant. Thank God. So fast forward, 2023. So my son, his anti-rejection medication costs $4,000 a month. Can't afford that. My son, he didn't really have like the best job history. Okay, so he didn't work a job where you have to have like training or a license or certification. He just worked like little odd jobs, but he did work. And so no job that like working at McDonald's not going to pay for medication that expensive. Okay, so let's be real. No restaurant jobs. And that's what he did, a lot of restaurant and warehouse work. So he wasn't able at the age of 23, I want to say, he wasn't taking the medication, the anti-rejection medication anymore. And so his insurance had stopped, and his insurance wouldn't pick it back up and pay for it. So at that age, he wasn't on the medication anymore. So he goes through life, working his little odd jobs, and he gets sick every now and then, but he would get better and carry on. Went and had some kids, and so fast forward to 2023. He had some stomach pains, went to the hospital. I really didn't like that hospital he went to in Charlotte, but they only did like drain some fluid off of his liver because he had too much fluid on it, and they left a drain out, and then he went back 2 3 weeks later and had the drain removed, and that was it. That's all they did. They didn't say anything about aftercare after that, or you need to be on this medication, no nothing. They just let him go home and just like whatever. So my son is now 39 years old at this time last year. 39 years old. He goes back to the hospital and tell him that his stomach's still hurting him. Like, they give him medicine and send him right back home. So that was the summer of 2023. Fast forward to January 2024, he started experiencing, the stomach was hurting him, a little bit worse than it did in 2023. So he went to Atrium Hospital, which is the hospital that flew him to Omaha to have the transplant. He went there because those liver transplant doctors do have his file at that hospital in particular. So he goes to Atrium, and so they're familiar with his case. So they just tell him that he can do a biopsy, which they should have did a biopsy in 2023, but they didn't. They didn't. And so they did a biopsy in February of 2024. And they said that he was rejecting the liver and that he didn't have long to live. So they called me when I was at work and broke the news to me, the doctor did, and told me that I needed to bring him here with me in Florida, to Florida, and that I need to take care of him. But they wouldn't tell me how long he had. And being that he didn't take the medication, the anti-rejection medication, he would not be eligible for another transplant because he didn't take the medicine. So I wasn't going to let that stop me. I reached out to Duke. I reached out to a hospital in Alabama called UBA, University of Alabama. I reached out to Duke, and Duke Hospital in North Carolina said that we would have to move to Durham, and he would have to go through this trial period. I'm like, I don't have the money to just get up and move, quit my job, move, and yeah, that wasn't gonna work. So I had to bring him here. So here in Florida, they do have the Mayo Clinic and they have Shands. Both are transplant centers. Both do liver transplants, and they are both in Central Florida. One is in Jacksonville, Florida, and I don't know where Shands is. I think Shands is in Orlando. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But they not far from each other, but they both do the same thing. And the Mayo Clinic is a very, very popular and 5-star type of hospital. They are very unique doctors there. So I called the Mayo Clinic and I told them that my son was rejecting his liver. He had a transplant. They don't want to give him another transplant in Charlotte. They sending him here to me, and they want to put him on hospice. And when he get here, and they said, well, let us send for his records from Charlotte Hospital. We'll review his records, look over them, and we'll let you know if we can even make an appointment for him to come in. Because sometimes they just tell you straight up no. So they looked at his records, and they seen the notes that the doctor put in there why they didn't want to give my son another liver. And they said, bring him in for testing. This is not 100% guarantee he was going to get a liver, but this was the start. This is like the lady said, this is how it starts, like the process. So she said, just the fact that they even gave him an appointment is a good sign. So I was like happy with that little bit of news. It gave me some hope. I had hope. That's what I'm going to call it. I'm going to call it hope, because that's exactly what it gave me. And it made me feel better. So once he got here and I saw the condition he was in, it like my heart sunk to the bottom of my feet. Like, he lost a lot of extreme weight. When he was in Charlotte, they put him on that anti-rejection medication in January. He was on that medicine for 2 weeks. It helped to destroy his liver faster. The anti-rejection medication messed his liver up even worse than what it already was doing. So they immediately stopped that after 2 weeks. So when he came here, he didn't have that medication anymore. And the transplant team director called me and told me we discontinued that medication because it's not effective for his liver. It's actually making him more sick. I wish they had realized that, that first week they put him on there, but he was on it for 2 weeks, and it like actually made his liver worse. So I know I'm a little all over the place with this story, but it's just coming back to me. I used to tell this story a lot to people, and last month, but I got used to not telling it anymore. So it's kind of touching just to, reiterate on it right now. So just bear with me. I don't want to be here all day talking, though. I know you guys have other things to do besides sit here and listen to me. But you're my subscribers, and I appreciate you guys coming to my channel, listening to my stories. When I do, talk about grief and how to deal with grief and how to live with it and accepting it. So let me finish this last part. So he gets here, and he's not able to feed himself. He's not able to bathe himself. He's not able to do anything. So he has medication that he does have to take to keep his ammonia levels and his stools down. Because once those ammonia levels are elevated, it could kill him. And it does a lot of damage when the ammonia levels are elevated, when you have liver failure. So when you have liver failure, you also have kidney failure, because the liver affects the kidneys as well. So then you have that's called multi-organ failure. So my son didn't have a lot of time. So I was racing against time. So I went down to social service, applied for Medicaid for him, and applied for disability for him as well. And it's a 30 to 60 day process here in Florida for Medicaid. And he had to get a specific type of Medicaid that will pay for the transplant. So that made the process even a little longer. So I'm trying to think of how to say this and get through this kind of quick. His little body couldn't fight that long to be waiting 60 to 90 days. He arrived here February 22nd. March was the full month that he was here. A full month of March is when he was here, and he was not the best, but when he was the worst, he was in the hospital here. He had 2 hospital admissions here in Florida. One was in ICU, and then when he went back to the hospital, like 2 or 3 weeks later, he was in progressive care, which is a step down unit from ICU. And I worked in both. So my coworkers were familiar with me. They kept telling me, you might want to, consult hospice, because at this point, or palliative care, because we can't really do anything. Like, his insurance hasn't kicked in yet, and they pumped a lot of medicine in my son when he was in ICU. They pumped some medicine in him that made him come home from the hospital, and he was up walking around. He was going to the corner store. He was in there cooking. He was making Kool-Aid. He was taking his own showers, because mind you, when he first got here, he couldn't even feed himself. He couldn't even hold the spoon to feed himself. I had to physically feed him like Jello and applesauce, like stuff like that. He wasn't eating or anything. He was eating Burger King. He was feeding himself, taking his own showers. I didn't have to help him to the bathroom. I didn't have to help him with a bath. Nothing. Because I was doing all of that when he first got here. And then when he went in the hospital into ICU, his ammonia levels were 40, and that's critical. And so they pumped all of that medicine in him. They pumped almost $60,000 worth of medication in my son, intravenously. And he revived. He just came back to life. I hadn't seen him like that since he'd been here. And so he went home and he was here at the house for, but when he came home, he wasn't on hospice. Because I told him, no, we trying to go to the Mayo Clinic. We still waiting for the insurance. So they was like, okay. So went home. We was home for 3 weeks. He got sick again. I took him back to the hospital. They put him in progressive care. And then when we discharged from there, we came back home. And that's when he was on hospice. He was on hospice, I'll say, the total 2 weeks before he passed away. 2 weeks, I want to say. Yeah, because it was right before April. It was a week or two before Easter. No, Easter was in March, right? Yeah, Easter was in March. So he went into hospice, hospital inpatient, the weekend of Easter 2024. And he was there the whole weekend. And Monday, I went to see him. I took him. He was a little confused because his ammonia levels, when you're on hospice, you're not getting the medicine that you were getting before. You're not. His body was just tired. He couldn't fight it no more. It was just taking over him. And as a mother, it's hard to sit there and watch your child deteriorate like that. It really is. I wouldn't want that for nobody. It's hard to watch your child suffer and you can't do anything. I don't care how old they are. My son turned 40 in February. If you had asked me 2 years ago or a year ago, would my son still be here? I would tell you, yes. Would this had happened? No. I would have never guessed this was gonna happen. But God had other plans for him. He wanted him home, and that's where he went. So he was home on hospice as well before Easter. And he was confused. He wasn't walking anymore. He was just not doing good at all. I had the hospice people out here constantly, like during the middle of the night. I wasn't going to work. I wasn't eating. He wasn't eating. He was just getting weak and losing more and more weight. And I know his ammonia levels were high because he wasn't taking the medicine anymore, because when you're on hospice, they don't give you the medicine anymore. All they do is give you comfort medication. So to that Monday after Easter, I went and took him a milkshake. Easter Sunday, I actually got him up out of bed, got him in a wheelchair, and then I got him on the bedside commode too. Because, you know, when you go to hospice, they don't care. They'll let you lay there and poop and pee in a brief, and they'll change you and go about their business. And he can tell you, you know, he told me when he had to poop and pee. So I got him up and got him on that bedside commode. He did his business. I got him washed up, sat him in a recliner. He sat up for like 30 minutes in the recliner, and then I got him back in the bed. And so that Tuesday, no, that was Sunday. So Monday, I bought him the milkshake, and I would feed him when I would go visit him in hospice. He wasn't even in hospice 6 days. He went in there on a Friday, and he died the following Monday. Let's see. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. He was in there 5 days. He died after being in there for 5 days. That Tuesday morning, he passed away, April 2nd. And I never go to see him that early in the morning. I goes to see him like, you know, around 11 or 12. And I try to stay with him a couple of hours. Then I go home and go to sleep so I can go to work at night, because I work night shift. He This particular morning, I got up and I told my daughter, let's go see him early. I got to go to work tonight, so let's go see him now. It's 9 o'clock, and let's just throw something on and go. It's only a couple of blocks from my house, the hospital. He wasn't at my hospital in the hospital. He wasn't at my hospital when he was on hospice inpatient. He was at another hospital because my hospital didn't have any beds. So, I went in there and he was unresponsive. And I'm not used to seeing him like that. Like, he was laying there, the bed was flat. Normally his bed is like at a 30 to 35 degree angle. His bed was flat. And his eyes were open and something was wrong with one of his eyes. And it was traumatic to see that. And I'm wondering, why didn't these people call me and tell me that my son wasn't responding to them really? Like, why didn't you call me and tell me? If I hadn't showed up, I wouldn't have even been there when my son passed if I didn't show up. I don't know if he was waiting for me and my daughter to get there, but it was traumatic for me and her, both. Still today, when I think about it, it just makes me like, I know my son wouldn't want me to carry this pain, forever, but I'm sorry, son, but I'm gonna have to. It's just what the heart feels. And I joined some support groups online on Facebook, and I've met so many people that their son passed away the same day my son passed away. The same day, same year. And talking to them has helped me. And I actually wanted to get into a grief support group, and I haven't found one here in my city yet. Everybody does everything online, and that's not cool with me. Like, yeah, I'm in that support group on Facebook. That's one thing, but I need to be in a setting where I can express myself to people in front of me, not over a screen, a phone screen or a tablet screen. So there is a difference. And I want to talk about me grieving. And, my son died the same month that my mother's birthday is in. Mind you, my mother died in 2022. So it's just been a bumpy ride. And it's been lonely during that ride. Lonely. I was afraid to come home and go in there and look at that bed. I was afraid to go in that room because that's where he was in a lot of pain, and he was confused, and he didn't know what was going on, and that's not my son. I don't know who that is. But all the way up until the end, my son knew who I was. He was confused, but he knew who I was. He knew who I was at the end. Because I think it was Easter, I was singing a song to him that he didn't like. He always said, I'm loud, like my voice is loud. And, I did it because I know it made him laugh or look at me some kind of crazy way. So I do stuff just to annoy him. And that day, that Sunday, I was annoying him. And I said, I was singing this particular song to him. And he said, you're loud. And I said, I know I'm loud. I said, I love you. And he said, I love you too, Ma. And he said it again, I love you, Ma. And that was the last time he talked to me, like verbally. And I got it on tape. I recorded it. Thank you, God, I did. I recorded it, and I couldn't make this video like a couple of weeks ago. I couldn't. I would have been, yeah. I think this face ugly now. It would have really been ugly. But um, I figured I'd make it today. It's like at it, just real spontaneously making this video. So now the grieving process. Now people have told me some crazy stuff. People say the stupidest things when someone died. People say the craziest things. Like right now, my best friend, her mom is being taken off of the ventilator Monday, which is tomorrow. And she called me crying yesterday, and I would never, ever think of saying something stupid to her. Like people come up to me and they be like, "Oh, he's not suffering anymore. He's not." I can't even think straight right now. They just say some of the stupidest stuff. Like, I'd rather you just say my condolences to you and the family. Anything I could do, just let me know. I'm sorry for your loss. And keep it moving. Don't come up to me and say, "Oh, he's not suffering anymore. He's in a better place now." I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. Because all my heart feel at this moment is that my son is no longer here. And at this moment, that's all that matters. That's not helping me. Just say you're sorry for my loss. And I know you mean well, and I know people mean well. But sometimes people say the stupidest thing when people are grieving. And I don't understand why. Stop and think first. Well, guys, my son is in heaven now. I'm manifesting that. I told him when he was in ICU, he believes in God. He's always believed in God, but he believes in a spiritual God. And I told him to get a connection with God, talk to God every day, all day, every chance you get. You talk to God. And he told me he was. And I had him to see a chaplain here at the house. And he's seen, I don't think he's seen one. Did he see one? He's seen a chaplain in ICU. Because when he was in the hospital, I had a chaplain come to ICU to see him. He's seen one here at home. And then after he passed away, I had a chaplain come and pray over his body. And I have not yet received his ashes yet. So this is still fresh. It just made a month 2 days ago. So if you guys could continue to pray for me and my family, I appreciate it so much. Because there is no pain like losing a child. If you haven't lost a child, you have no idea. You have no idea what it feels like. It's hurtful, and I don't care how old they are. People think because if their kid is old that you're not supposed to hurt. No. You're going to still hurt. You're still going to hurt. Just like as if they were a baby. It hurt even more because I've been with him 40 years. He's been here 40 years. The love is no less than if he was 10 years old. That's another stupid thing people seem to always say. Well, at least he lived to see 40. At least he lived with his transplant to see 40. People live a lifetime with transplants. Let me not get started because I will be on here forever. Like I said, people say the stupidest thing, but they got the right one. They got the right one. So I'm gonna end this video. I want to thank you guys for watching it all the way through. If you watched it, thank you. I appreciate you so much. I needed to talk about this. Like I was saying, I was scared to go in there in the room. But now it's not better. I'm more eased. I'm more at ease with going in there now. Not as traumatic as it was in the beginning. In the beginning, it was traumatic. Like, it was traumatic. I would have anxiety going in that room. Yeah, because it just puts me back into that mind frame that he was in there in the bed and he was calling me in the middle of the night, Mom, Mom, like that. And so, yeah. Yeah. So, and now his kids got to live without a father. Now they have to grow up without a dad. I told my son before he got confused, this is supposed to be the other way around. Like, I wish, if I could have traded places with him, I would have. And that's how every mother should think when you have a sick child, because I done lived 57 years of my life. He got little ones. Okay, guys, thank y'all so much for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, share, and don't forget to like my video. I appreciate you guys so much. I'm going to make a part 2 to living without my son. And I'll probably do that video in maybe a couple of weeks. But thank you guys so much for your time and watching this video. I appreciate you guys so much. Thanks.